Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you're having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first story is titled, Won a Lawsuit Against a Guy Who Tried to Force Me Out of Business Because I Broke His Local Monopoly. I am 26 years old, and I decided to open my own business this year. Moving forward in this post, I should point out that I am from a small town, 1,000 people, in the rural Midwest. Because of this, everyone has some sort of connection with someone. We went to one of the liquor stores in the closest city, 30-ish minutes away. Small city, 8,000 people. When we were grabbing some alcohol for a party, I was looking at the prices and saw how insane the prices were. For a 6-pack of a local beer, we were charged $15. I was thinking about this and figured that I could probably make bank opening a liquor store. Back in February, I was furious about my crappy job and thinking out loud how cool it would be to own my own business to a friend. My friend's mom happened to be the president of the local bank. He told me, hey, with the pandemic, the bank has been struggling to find customers to give out loans. Right now, the bank is giving loans for cheap. A couple of weeks later, I went in and met with my friend's mom and pitched my idea with the research I had done on alcohol prices, potential demand, and estimated income. I got the loan at a fantastic interest rate. I bought a building, which happened to be the former bank, and hired my dad to help me renovate the building. My dad is a general contractor, and he gave me an excellent quote on materials and labor. After working everything out with the distributors, getting the proper licenses, and getting my paperwork I needed for the government, I was ready to open my liquor store in May. I had started taking out ads in the local newspaper advertising my store and my prices. When I was in talks with my distributors, I learned, even with inflation and everything else, the liquor stores in the city had like an 80% markup. I talked to a local business owner, and he suggested that I have around a 35% to 40% markup. Because of this, I was significantly cheaper than the closest liquor store and had a much wider selection than the gas stations and small local stores nearby. My hometown is near a national forest. As such, we have a lot of people who come up for weekends for recreational activities year-round. My first week, the week before Memorial Weekend, after opening, I had made a $4,000 profit. It was great being my own boss. If someone was rude to me or my girlfriend, oh, I'm sorry, you can do your business elsewhere. If someone tells my GF, go back to China, you chink idiot, they can pay me 15% more at the register. Did the gang and I run out of alcohol? Time to grab my keys. Not car keys, the store keys. My apartment is like 2 blocks away. And go to the store. That's not to say that it wasn't difficult running my own business, especially that my only employee was my GF, and we were both working 6 or 7 10 to 12 hour days a week. I was both manager, accountant, and cashier, but fuck, it's so much nicer knowing I can tell someone to pound sand for being a prick. Couple of weeks after Memorial Day, some old guy walks into my store a couple of minutes after I opened. He seemed friendly enough, but eventually he offered to buy my store. I'm not going to say the amount, but it wouldn't have even covered my principal on the loan. I rejected the proposal outright and refused to negotiate the sum higher. He walked out of my store saying, well, you'll be sorry you rejected that offer. The next month, a guy walked into my store and asked if I was the owner. After saying yes, I was informed that my business was being sued by this random guy I never heard of for libel. After he left, I was freaking out and I decided that I was going to close early. When I got home, I googled the guy and soon saw a picture of the guy that tried to buy my store. Turns out that this is the guy who owns both of the liquor stores in the nearby city. It also just so happens that he is on city council. With a little bit of further digging, I learned that this city has an ordinance that reads, any business institution that does not fulfill the definition of a restaurant, tavern, or liquor dispensary will be excluded from obtaining a license for the sale of alcohol. Later, I discovered that the same guy happens to be the head of the board which approves liquor licenses. I love small-town corruption. Either way, I had a major issue. My maternal uncle happens to be a lawyer in a neighboring state. I decided to call him and try to get some legal advice. I talked to him and read the documents that I had been handed/served over the phone, and the research I had done. After receiving all of the information I had read off, I was expecting to get some sort of advice, but instead heard, hang on, I gotta make a call, and he hung up. I'm freaking out. I was actually about to post my first post to r/legal advice. I'll be honest, I just wanted someone to tell me it was going to be okay, and I didn't need to crawl to this guy on my hands and knees. As I was writing the title, my uncle called back. Hey OP, I just got off the phone with my partner. He agreed that we can take your case pro bono. If you would like to accept, we can discuss at my office tomorrow at 1 o'clock. This is how I learned that my uncle is on the bar in 3 states. So, we meet, and we discussed the case. It turns out that the guy filed the libel suits against my business based on the ads I took out in the local newspapers. He claimed that my ads were targeted to damage his and his business's reputation. There were a few other things that I had no idea what was being referenced, but Uncle assured me that we would win the case no problem. 3 weeks later, the case is dismissed. But after, my uncle says, people like that piece of work will likely try to file another suit against you. If that happens, call me, and I promise I'll help. The next day, I get served again, but this time I am the defendant. Not my store, me. I swear to God, I look at the documentation and the only thing that changed was instead of my business's name, mine is listed as the defendant. Same thing happens 4 weeks later, the case is dismissed. Over the next 3 months, I was sued just as many times. Before the 5th case's hearing, we had a settlement meeting. My uncle, the judge, the guy suing me, his lawyer, a bailiff, and I were sitting in this room. Judge says, you two have been in court 4 times already. Is there any way we could come to an agreement that'll stop this cycle of faulty litigation? The guy's lawyer says they have an offer and hand it to my uncle, who then hands it to me. It essentially read that he'll stop all litigation if I sell my business for about 30% of remaining loan principal. I outright rejected the offer and made a counteroffer. I said, if you drop this case, I won't sue your ass for harassment. He busts out laughing. Sue me? With what money? The legal fees alone ought to have drained you. You should be happy I chose to extend this offer and not sue your ass into bankruptcy and buy that crap hole from the bank when they foreclose on your dumb ass. The judge, the bailiff, and the guy's own lawyer were all looking at him, aghast for saying the silent part out loud about the real reason I was getting sued. My uncle straight out said to him, "Oh, I'm sorry. Apparently you were never told. I've taken all of my nephew's cases pro bono. The only money he has spent on your litigation is gas. And bluntly, sir, I think your outburst has just insured a suit against you." After that, we just left, and I was then informed a few days later the litigation was dropped. Right now, my uncle and I are talking about the future suit against the guy. I want to sue the guy for a very high amount to try and get press attention to this guy and his sketchy actions. Although, my uncle warned me that we'll need to be careful because if we set the damages too high, it'll look like we're just being vindictive. This suit won't be pro bono, but after getting sued 5 times for free, essentially, I'm not going to complain. Looking back on this, I'm so thankful that my friends and family supported me the entire way, especially my uncle. Without my uncle, I would have absolutely lost my business. The next story is titled, Ex-Wife Steals My House and Evicts Me from My Property. Calls 911 for me trespassing. The day I divorced my ex-wife was a turning point in my life that changed me forever. It was a moment that I had never thought I would experience, but fate had other plans for me. When I met my ex-wife, she was everything I wanted in a partner. She was charming, warm, and seemed to possess all the qualities I desired. She was even shy and meek, which was a breath of fresh air compared to the outgoing and sometimes overwhelming personalities of the women I had dated before. However, as soon as we got married, everything changed. The real her came out, and it was not a pretty sight. I discovered that she had been lying to me about her parents being drug addicts, and that she had a history of stealing money from them to fund her addiction to drugs and alcohol. She was also prone to explosive outbursts and aggression, especially when things didn't go her way. To make matters worse, she had cheated on me with multiple men, even though we were married. I knew that I had to get out of the marriage to have any hope of a happy life, but she wasn't going to make it easy for me. When I first told her that I wanted a divorce, she seemed okay with it, but that was short-lived. She called the police on me, claiming that I was trespassing on her property. The police assumed that she was in the right and removed me from my own home. I was taken to the police station and had to endure hours of paperwork and questioning from the officers, but none of them listened to me. They just assumed that she would keep the house because we were getting a divorce. I was forced to stay with a friend until I could work everything out with my lawyer. The divorce proceedings were a nightmare. Her lawyer made a list of outrageous demands, including my stamp collection, which was worth over $100,000. But I was determined to fight back, and I had a secret weapon, my own lawyer. He was on my side, and he was able to prove that she was lying about me abandoning her in the house. He presented the police reports from that day, which showed that I was removed from the house by the police. I sat there in court and watched as her lawyer whispered to her, trying to come up with a way to defend her lies. But I was one step ahead of her. I had discovered that she was having an affair with one of the men she had cheated on me with. I hired a private investigator to gather evidence of their affair and present it in court. The judge was shocked by the evidence, and it was clear that my ex-wife's credibility was in tatters. The final straw came when the judge ordered her to pay me a substantial sum of money in damages for lying and cheating. But I wasn't satisfied with just financial compensation. I wanted revenge, and I was going to get it. I approached her in the courthouse, and in a quiet voice, I told her that I was going to make her pay for what she had done to me. I sold the house she had claimed was hers and used the proceeds to start a new life. I also contacted her employer and let them know about her history of addiction and lying, which led to her being fired. Finally, I spread the word to her friends and family about her infidelity and her lies, destroying her reputation in the process. The day I divorced my ex-wife was a turning point in my life, but it was also the beginning of a new journey. I learned a valuable lesson from this experience. Sometimes people aren't who they seem, and it's important to trust your gut instincts. The next story is titled, "My Neighbor Cursed Me for Using My Own Yard." Well, I'm going to use it even more. So, I've lived in a townhouse for the last 3 years. I live with my husband and 2 60-pound dogs. For a bit of background, I got attacked by a dog just before my neighbors moved in 2.5 years ago, which left me with a fear of strange animals up until recently when I was able to work through my trauma with my therapist. My neighbors have 4 loud and reactive dogs, 3 Chihuahuas and 1 Australian Shepherd, which charge the fence whenever they see someone on the other side and bark constantly. This had prevented me from using my backyard for the last 2 summers. Now that I've worked past the panic attacks and fear, I'm spending a majority of weekends in my yard and let my dogs go back and forth freely from the yard. My dogs have been well socialized and don't have any interest in the fence when the other dogs are reacting. Up until yesterday, when the neighbors' dogs come out, I would bring my dogs inside. But it would still mean a minute or so for their dogs to calm down. I would let my dogs back outside to play when the neighbors go back in. This was no big deal to me. Now cue Sunday. The neighbors let their dogs out, they react, I bring my dogs in. Same old routine, except my neighbor curses me under her breath. Keep your fucking door shut. This is not the first time they've been rude either. This gets under my skin, considering her dog's reactivity is the reason I didn't feel comfortable in my own backyard. And it's not my dogs who are reactive. Plus, I've always been the one to bring my dogs in, not the neighbor. So, I've started to be a bit petty. Now, when the neighbor lets their dogs out, I stay out and play fetch with my dogs while her animals are going apecrap, instead of bringing my dogs inside as I've always done. My dogs love it because they're getting more exercise than before. It's only been 3 days, and my neighbor is exasperated and has to chase her dogs around the garden. Side note, they have another dog on the opposite side of them, which they are equally reactive to as well. I have patio furniture being delivered tomorrow, and I fully expect to enjoy my yard to the fullest this summer. After a week or 2, I'll probably put up a visual blockade so her dogs can't see mine to be nice, but I'm not going to restrict my well-trained animals for her untrained ones any longer. Don't appreciate my courtesy, I won't give it. The last story is titled, "Wait, so I have to put my money on the gift cards?" I work at popular redhead fast food empire, and since our lobby is closed due to COVID-19, all orders must be taken at the drive-thru. This puts me by our pickup window and listening to orders over the headset. Enter our star of the story, who I will lovingly call Karen. She drives up to the speaker and asks our drive-thru person if we have any gift certificates. Karen: "Do you all have gift certificates?" Coworker: "No, we do not. We do offer gift cards, however." K: "Great. Can I have 15 of them?" CW: "Go ahead and pull up to the window." This is where it's mostly paraphrased, as I didn't hear the whole conversation from my position. Policy requires our manager to handle any gift card purchases and reloads. As my manager is getting the cards together, she asks how much she wants on each card and who they're for. Karen: "I need $2 on each card. They're for my employees." Manager: "Alright, so that comes to $30 total." K: "Wait, I thought I didn't have to pay for them." M: "Well, that's how the money gets put on the cards. You need to purchase the funds." K: "That's ridiculous. I don't have to pay for them. I'm a business owner and I'm struggling because of the corona." M: "Well, I'm sorry, but we can't just give these to you on the house." The rest was tuned out as another person came through our drive-thru and I had to help fill an order. From what I saw, Karen drove off without her gift cards. Why on God's green earth would you give your hard-working employees $2 gift cards to a fast food place? I'm glad that lady left without purchasing. Her employees deserve better. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.